we start lying down on the backs, and please do so in a comfortable way. Once we are coming off the ground, we'll do a bit of static postures, but for now, just lying down on the backs will be fine. And as always, we're starting to tune in a bit with whatever is going on in your body. So maybe allowing yourself a few breaths, some that go in and out of your nose, but allowing this breath to expand your body. So maybe not all of a sudden, but gradually increasing the depth of your breathing, just noticing how that feels. So with the breath flowing through the nostrils, there's a sensation happening. And I'd love you to pay attention to that sensation for a moment. Yes, there is an expansion in the body, but there's also that sensation within your nostrils, the way you're breathing, that may or may not make a difference. And maybe from there, expanding your awareness as into where does this breath actually go? I know we can't really see it, but there's an opportunity for you to get the idea of feeling it, of maybe feeling how your breath moves from the nostrils down the throat into your lungs, how the lungs are expanding from here, how the diaphragm is pushing down into the abdomen, and the abdomen begins to rise. And when you're breathing out, how the abdomen falls again. The diaphragm moves upwards, the lungs empty, the breath comes through the throat again and then out of your nostrils. And you might stay with that just for a few more breaths, more aware of what is happening inside when the breath is flowing, nourishing you. And as we do want to practice a few core movements, there's also the invitation of now beginning to engage this abdomen. So when you're breathing out now, allow the lower belly to draw in and down towards your tailbone. And when you're breathing in, you're letting that all go again. So if you wish, you could breathe in alignment with the breath flowing, and just encouraging the lower abdomen in on the out breath, and then releasing the whole area as you breathe in. And there's expansion then into the belly. So staying with that for a few more breaths. The usual play of engaging and releasing. A flow of breath, a flow of engaging and releasing. And tuning into this flow and making this flow your gaze point or drishti. While you continue to do so, here is a card that is surprisingly so in line with what else I'm teaching this week, which is all about love. Moving towards Christmas, I think that deserves our attention. And so when I drew a card this morning from the Rumi Oracle, it came back with passion for purpose. And the poem that goes with this card from Rumi is: love, like life, flows through the heart. Feel the thrill of the flow and say nothing. I will leave it at that for now, hoping that we do have some more time towards the end of this practice to maybe understand this poem a bit further. So from this lying down position now, you can keep the breath just as you've created it for yourself, with that little bit of contraction of the lower abdomen on the out breath and the complete relaxation on the in breath. But you might change it every now and then in between. So I will invite you now to just step your right foot onto the ground, to roll over onto your left hand side, and then to extend the body banana shape as you stretch into the back, pushing the hips forward, arms long, legs long. And then when you're breathing out, you're letting go and flopping like jelly on a plate onto your back. And likely some of you were hesitant to do so. So you get another chance. Let's get the left foot onto the ground, rolling over onto the right hand side. Having a big stretch from the fingers to the toes, hips are pushing forward, nice arch into the back. And when you're exhaling, just flopping again onto the back. We'll do that once more to each side. So right foot steps down, push yourself over to the left hand side. Take a deep breath, arch the body, pushing hips forward. And then flopping again onto the back. Left foot steps down, roll over to your right. Big stretch, hips moving forward, nice arch into the back, long, long in-breath. And then flopping onto the back again, allowing the body to soften once more. Let's slide the arms down and alongside the body. Stepping your feet down onto the mat. And my suggestion is today to start with a complete back release, which a lot of you will be familiar with. It is a way of moving into the spine in the 3 stages. So if that's okay for your shoulders, you may interlace your hands behind the head and rest the head into your hands. If that is not available to you, your arms could be out wide instead. Stepping your feet down onto the mat, so close that the insides of the feet and the knees are touching. I'm encouraging you now to think of the largest banknote that we have here in Australia, and that you've got one, and that sits in between your knees. So I'll ask you to squeeze your knees tightly, not to lose it. And then as you're breathing out, you will let your knees come over to one side, but we're holding onto that banknote. And as you breathe in, come back to center. And when you're breathing out, do the same to the other side. Keeping the upper body centered, we continue like that. So on the out breath, the knees are moving to the side, but they stay glued together. So if you were to look at my posture, my knees and my feet are sticking together with every move. So I'm really, when I'm moving my knees to one side, I'm just on the edge of one foot, the soles of the feet entirely off the ground. Last round here from side to side. That's for our lower back, and I hope you felt a little bit of a release here. From there, bringing your feet up into the air. Now move your knees over your hips, so a bit away from you. You will notice the core already switching on. Then lift your feet up, but only to 90 degrees, so that the knees are at a 90-degree angle. We'll bring the knees back together. We bring our banknote back in between the knees. We've got a light flexion of the ankle joint as well. So when you're now looking over, you're squeezing these, you can just see your toes. That's the angle we would like. And as you're breathing out, bring your knees to one side. Inhale, bring them to center. Notice if they have changed, and then go to the other side. So even when we come into the center, we want our legs to be in this particular shape. So I'm usually giving you more options, but here it's very important to keep the feet up, the knees at 90 degrees, and to squeeze your knees together as you're moving side to side. And as you might see in my movement, I'm not even taking the knees close towards the floor. I'm more concentrated of holding the angle of the knees and to move them from side to side. And with that, we're now going into our mid-back, and hopefully you're feeling a bit of a release there. When you next go from side to side, complete this movement. Come to center and let your knees fall in towards the chest and your feet towards the buttocks. Again, place that imaginary banknote between your knees. From the elbows, we're taking the knees to one side and tucking them up towards the shoulder. Then we swing them across on the inhale and we're tucking them up to the other shoulder on the exhale. So it's not just the side to side, it's a squeezing of the knees to the shoulders. Keeping your knees touching at all times, just giving them a little tuck up to the shoulder once you've come to one side. And then continue that. Don't lose the money in between the knees and try and remember the tuck up towards the shoulder. Keep going. And now one more to each side. Maybe an extra deep tuck. And then release that. Release your hands from behind the head. Step your feet down or even extending your legs out long. My suggestion to repeat one round of our jelly flops. So stepping the right foot onto the ground. Extend your arms over the head as you roll to your side. Take a big stretch as you're pushing the hips forward from fingers to your toes. And then jelly on a plate as you flop onto your back. Left foot steps down. Roll to your right hand side. Get a deep stretch, breathing in. And then a flop onto the back, breathing out. Now I will ask you to leave your arms extended over your head. To just fold the thumbs into the palms and to wrap your fingers around. To extend your arms up fully. Now let's set the feet down onto the mat, and if you like, you can wiggle a bit, adjusting the spine. We're extending from here the right leg. Bring your flexion into your ankle. Notice how this is feeling, and really extend up into your arms. And as you're breathing out, lower the leg to maybe just off the ground. And then inhale, throw it back up. And exhale, pull it down. Inhale up. So this is a fairly fast movement. Some of you are familiar with that. As you bounce the leg just off the ground, keep your arms strongly extended as if you're hanging off some monkey bars. Last throw of the right leg, and then step it down onto the mat and lift the left leg. Pause here for a second as you're flexing into your ankle, noticing how the leg is feeling. You might feel a mild lengthening here as well. And then start again. On the out breath, throw the leg down, just off the ground, and back into the air. Short in breath, short out breath now. Of course, could you go slower if your lower back doesn't like it? But I was hoping that with the right foot on the ground, you've got enough support. Last one here, and then step the foot onto the ground. Relax the arms for a moment. Let the elbows bend. Let some blood flow come back in. And from here, lifting both of your feet up towards the ceiling. You can keep the feet relaxed for now. Extending your arms up towards the ceiling too, but for now, let the shoulders soften to the ground. And then as you're breathing out, think about your lower abdomen. Lift up and reach for your toes. And when you're breathing in, lie back, let the shoulders relax. And on the elbows, lifting up, reaching for the toes. And then inhale, release it down. Each outburst, you're drawing the lower abdomen in. There's no reason to reach to the toes, but we're aiming for them. Last one, and then pausing. Let your arms release down by your sides. Leave your feet in the air. Engage again the lower abdomen, this time to lift the hips and lower them again. Instead of swinging your hips up like this, lift them straight up towards the ceiling. So the movement is a lot smaller than swinging them over the body. But here we're working with the deeper layers of our tummy muscles as we're trying to engage. And even if the pelvis is just lifting that tiny little bit, or you're feeling the belly muscles switch on and the light twitch, doesn't even have to be visible from the outside. Going for 2 more. And then relax the movement. And I hope that you've gotten in contact now with your tummy muscles. We're extending the arms one more time over the head onto the floor, thumb inside of the fist as you're wrapping your fingers around the thumb, flexing both of your feet and on the outburst, lowering both legs down to your extent. Maybe they come just off the ground, maybe they're staying high. As you inhale, bring the legs back. And on the exhale, move them away. Inhaling, bring them up. Exhaling, move them away from you. Stay with that movement for a few more breaths. Arms still fully extended as if you're holding onto the monkey bars that are your thumbs. Thumbs inside of the fist. The lower belly switching on as you're moving the legs away from you, aiming to protect the lower back. And when you notice the back is arching too much away off the ground, rather slow the movement down a little bit and only take the legs to where is comfortable for your back. 2 more from here, just that little bit further. Then bend your knees and give your knees a hug. If you like, you can rock side to side. An option to release the back. Also an option to pop your nose between the knees. When you come to lie down, as it is a core practice, I encourage you to try rocking forward and backwards. But if this isn't working for you, you can roll over onto your side. So any way that takes you up into a seated position for now. Once you're sitting, extending your legs out in front of you. Flexing again through the feet so that now your toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. We will place our hands in front of the heart space, aiming to sit up nice and tall, breathing in. And as you're leaning back to breathe out, the arms opening into a twist. We inhale, sitting back up, hands are touching. We're exhaling, leaning a bit back and opening the arms for a twist. Inhaling, coming up. Exhaling, arms open, leaning back and twisting. Hands to the heart as you come to the center. Out, breath, lean back. Use your core, inhaling center. There's that light leaning back. The arms can be soft when they're open. They don't have to be fully extended. Just adding a little bit of weight to the movement. And if you like, some of you might want to lightly tap down with the fingertips behind you. Little tap, just a fingertip or two down onto the floor if that's yours. An encouragement to take that just a tiny bit deeper. This is more or less working all around your core, so quite a beneficial movement. Keeping the legs engaged so they can ground down to the floor. One more now to each side. Then bring yourself up to sitting. Bend your knees a little bit, so maybe just a fraction. Walk out through the sit bones. Take a breath in, lengthen your spine again, and then a breath out that takes you down into a forward bend. So it's our first more static posture. I've just wrapped my arms around my legs to hold on. That's comfortable for me. That allows my shoulders to stay open. Please feel free to reach for your feet if the same is guaranteed, that your shoulders are still at ease rather than overextended. Your gaze might lower down to the space between your knees. And if any of you are pain-free in your lower back, you could work towards straight legs. Otherwise, we will all do the same, closing the eyes and working with the out-breath and allowing your out-breath to deepen the posture. As you're resting within this shape, just be there, rather than letting your mind wander to whatever seems more important to it. You're here. You're bending forward, and for that, your out-breath is a good helper. So allow the out-breath to be there for you, to guide you through this forward fold. Last exhalation here. And then slowly sliding or walking the hands back up towards your body. Placing your right foot down after you squeezed your right knee in towards the chest. Stepping the foot down, leaving a light gap between your foot and your extended leg. Either keep your opposite hand on this knee or wrap the elbow around the knee. Placing your right hand fingertips down behind you, and that might give you, together with the embrace of the knee, a good length in your spine. As a flexion on your left foot, that's the extended side. And when you next breathe out, go deeper into your twist. Notice what you're feeling. And you might have a few times where your in-breath takes you slightly away from the twist, and then deepening the twist on the exhalation. Maybe you're perfectly happy to hold this still. This is up to you to decide. A few rounds of in and out of the twist with the breath, or holding it straight away. I will invite you afterwards to be still in the posture too. To use your hand or fingertips behind you to keep the length of your back, so we can safely at the twist. If you're feeling quite comfortable in this twist, and only then, could you reach with your left hand to the outer edge of your right foot? And then keeping your form extending through the right leg. So we're still in the twist, but maybe there's a leg extension added to it. The spine remains long. We will then all breathe in and turn the head forward, and we will release the right leg out long. You might move it a little bit, shake out through the hip, whatever is required for you. We will then hug the left knee into the chest, and again placing the foot down. So we've got a gap between our foot and the extended leg. We'll use the opposite hand or elbow to embrace it, and we're placing the left hand behind us. So just the fingertips to the ground, maybe. We're flexing through the right foot, so the right leg is aligned. Now use the fingertips behind you and your embrace to lengthen through your back, and then enter the twist as you're breathing out. And just staying here is your choice, or moving a little bit in and out of the twist. And don't worry what you've done on the other side. This is similar enough, even if you had movement on one side and not on the other, which would be just related to how you're feeling today. You often have one side that needs a bit more encouragement than the other. If you're happy with holding your twist now, please do so. If you want to extend, reach with your right hand for the outer edge of your left foot and extending out into your leg. Keeping a tall seat, keeping the twist, just adding something to it if that feels right. We're releasing that too. As we let go, the leg slides out, we're back in center. Now I will ask you, as we are in our heart topic this week, and somehow the card is coming along nicely, placing your hands together in front of your heart. I will challenge you now. It's part of our core strengths, not so much the steadiness. And if you find this is too much for you, please do use your hands. Otherwise, keep them in front. And I will invite you to mindfully move to an easy pose. And then to notice which side you're choosing as you're coming up to standing. And ideally, not using your hands, just standing up. However you gotten here, releasing your arms. This is a nice way of working with core strengths, but it can be quite challenging. And it is a way also in which we might be able to keep ourselves quite mobile. So a nice practice to do. Now talking a nice practice to do. Let's stay standing at the front of the mat for a moment. Let's take a breath in to lift through the arms, extending the body. And then interlace your hands and touch your index fingers together for Charlie's Angel's Mudra. And as you're breathing out now, let's bend over to the right-hand side. Extending into your side body. We will hold this, but we're opening the arms. So stay with the side bend, open your arms. And then shift the weight a little and poke your left big toe onto the ground away from you. If this is fine for you, you can extend into a tilted star and take the foot away from the ground altogether. Or juggling around your balance, whatever comes first. Swirl this one around, even if you're sliding your big toe along the floor, and find an aeroplane. Then land it down into a soft lunge. Taking a breath in as you're lifting your arms. And on the out breath, use your fists of fire and pull it in. Now it's time to work back with the lower abdomen. Inhaling, relax, and then pull it in as you're reining in your arms. Inhaling to reach up. Exhaling to pull in. Inhaling, lengthen. Exhaling, pulling in. You can breathe out of the mouth. You're at home, you can. We will hold in the next one. Releasing your hands down, you might want to step the foot a little bit further back. Then lower your knee down onto the mat, planting the same side hand onto the ground. So the knee is down and the same side hand is down. And then you're sliding the foot from the front all the way up, lifting it. You could be on the fingertips of the opposite hand or take that hand up as well. So I'm giving you options again. I know there's a lot of balance involved. Your fingertips could stay down and just lifting through the leg, or you might be able to lift the arm too. Now, if you want even more core strength or more balance, come up onto the fingertips of the lower hand. Maybe not using that hand at all. And even if that's just for a second or half a second. Just taking the hand, playing with it, a little bit off the ground. And then release it. Release down onto your knees and stretch back towards your heels. I encourage you to open your knees out wide for this child's pose and just to sink forward. I'm aware that I snug in some more core strength, so now is a good time to relax. Relax with the knees open. We're getting a bit more openness into the hip area. I will invite you to feel, it's likely the side that was lower when we were playing around with one knee on the ground. That feels a little bit tighter or maybe more engaged. There are more sensations on one side. I will ask you to come up onto your fingertips in this wide knee child's pose. And then walk the hands away from the tight side, all the way across to the other. Your arms can then soften to the ground, and you might even lower your nose towards that knee. Bringing some length into the tighter side now, and you might choose to place the hand that's closer to the front of the mat on top of the other, and maybe increasing the stretch here. Nothing really to do but to breathe deeply. We'll walk our hands back into the center. We'll walk our forearms forward and bring our knees together. Well, maybe not completely together, but to about hip distance. You might slide your forearms further forward and come into a kneeling forearm plank. Too much for your shoulders, always just shift some weight back to release out of the shoulders. Otherwise, shoulders are roughly over your elbows. Maybe the elbows are a little bit further forward. Keeping your knees on the ground for this one, draw your tailbone down towards your heels. And then let's move that, drop the hip down on one side, lift back up, and then drop the hip down on the other side. Inhale, lift the hips to center. Exhale, let them roll over. Inhale, center. Exhale, hips dropping to one side. This is called a Diavolo move. And this is just on the knees. So I'm pretty sure you can all feel it. It's basically a kneeling forearm plank where the hips are moving side to side. If you're able to, add another 2 to each side. I would know that some of you started a little bit later. So 2 more to each side, and then stretching right back towards your heels into that extended child's pose. Maybe starting to lift the forearms off the ground, giving them a break too, and starting to spread out through your fingers. Then let's walk or slide the hands in towards your knees. Roll over and come down to sit. Now, there's only one reason why I got you to sit. You will realize in a second your choice, touching the hands together in front of your chest. You may use the hands if you really have to. You were aware of where your feet were going in the first round. Go the unfamiliar way, the one that's slightly uncomfortable. As you bring your feet out, we're starting to stand up again. And ideally, we're not using the hands, and we're using the opposite foot, the opposite side, the opposite everything as we come back into standing. However you've gotten there, relax the arms down. Let us move on towards the other side. So while you're taking a deep breath, let your arms extend up over the head. Charlie's Angels Mudra, so fingers interlacing, index finger pointing up. And when you're breathing out, now bending to your left. Feeling into the extension that is here. Holding that extension, but releasing the arms and opening the arms out, ready for a star that is in a side bend already. And you might then poke your right big toe onto the floor by your side, moving the leg a bit away from you. And if you then like, you can even lift the foot off the ground. Keep yourself in a star shape with or without the foot grounded. And then turn this star shape into an aeroplane shape. And then landing your foot down behind and a breath in to lift the arms. And we're using our fists of fire as we're breathing out, lower and elbows coming into your side. Inhaling, extending. Exhaling and pulling in. Now, while you repeat this movement, invite your lower abdomen to engage. Not on the in-breath, here it's extending, but on the out-breath, pull it in and down towards your tailbone. Keep moving like this. Inhale and exhale. No need to rush these movements. Just pulling in. Use your strength. There's strength in the arms too. If you want to use it, pull them in strongly. Next one's our last, and we're pausing here. Releasing our hands down onto the mat. Then bring the knee down to the floor. You might untuck your toes, leaving the knee on the same side, hand on the ground, and slide the foot up and back. You become light in the opposite hand's fingertips, or you might even lift that arm up towards the ceiling. Your choice of kneeling here and extending and opening yourself out like a kneeling side plank, or keeping some fingertips on the mat if you need to. We will again release that. So let's bring the knees down, opening them wide, touching the big toes, and sinking into the extended child's pose. Coming here to the fingertips and walking them over to the side where you haven't been before. And then surrender here and just breathe. Your nose going towards the knees. You're feeling a bit of length in the side, and if you want more, take the front hand on top of the back hand, or a slightly deeper extension into the side body. But other than that, we're here to breathe. And then come back onto your fingertips. Walking the hands back onto the mat. Spreading your fingers out. Take a breath in, come onto all fours. Now let's tuck the toes under and lift our knees for a down dog. We'll just keep this down dog still. If you find there's any movement required, please do have the movement first before you bring in stillness. A hold of a posture when we're talking more Hatha Yoga is there to enable us to find the two important components that each posture shall have. That is ease and steadiness. So the steadiness might come as we let go of movement, but noticing where you might not be as steady as you would like to be and start to engage the areas. So for me, it could be that your shoulders are rolling inwards. Can you broaden them? Can you maybe soften your knees and stretch more into the spine instead, so the tailbone moves up and back a bit further? If your heels touch the ground, that's okay, but nothing really comes from that. Notice how we can stabilize this posture, maybe just by spreading the hands out a bit more, using the pads of the fingers. It could be subtleties that help you with this shape. And now notice if there's still ease. How's your breath going, for example? Is it just flowing steadily and smoothly? Or is this hold maybe too long for you? You need to come to your knees and practice a puppy pose instead. Stay with the idea of steadiness and ease and the posture for a few more breaths. And then walk your feet all the way towards the front end of the mat. Stretch the spine up for a half lift, inhaling. And soften back down, exhaling. Inhaling here. And using your lower abs and breathing out to roll up into standing. Lifting your shoulders. And then drop them back and down. I will take you through two standing postures, both of them warriors, 1 and 2, where there's a significant difference, at least for me, in the stance. So let us begin with the warrior 1. Take your hands onto your hips. Stepping your right foot forward into the warrior. With the right foot that's a healthy step, isn't it? About a meter forward. That's what we often naturally do when we're stepping out. Now, with the feet about a meter apart and the pelvis unchanged, because we just stepped forward, the pelvis is still facing towards the front. We're having a bend now in the right knee. This is our warrior 1 stance, and I encourage you now to lift through the arches of both of your feet. And with that, the legs starting to switch on that little bit more. Get into a very subtle engagement of the lower abdomen. And with the foundation then complete, take a breath in and lift your arms. If that's not yours, your hands could be just simply at heart space or down by the sides. See if you can let the palms face each other so that the little finger is slightly rolling in. Palms touching is another variation, maybe not suitable for all shoulders. So either touch the palms now or let them face each other. And from here, your gaze could be forward or you could guide it upwards. A warrior 1 pose. Let's breathe in. And as you're breathing out, step the foot back and release your arms down by your sides. Just to feel the difference completely, we will swap legs So, while you might bring your hands towards the pelvis, I will ask you now to step your left foot forward, taking a bigger step or maybe adjusting the back foot. As you step that out a little bit, let's turn the toes a bit more. So now instead of the pelvis facing forward, we've got it wide open. And I know we're on the other side, that's to give your leg a rest. Have a bend in the front knee. And again, same as we did in Warrior One, this is Warrior Two. We're starting to lift through the arches of the feet quite actively. That will help us to align the front knee with the toes. Now, oftentimes when your toes are turned in or out, the knee comes along. That's safe too. Maybe not ideal, but at least safe. You've got your foundation. Breathe in, lift your arms, and let them come to rest at about shoulder height. Turn your gaze here forward and look over your front hand fingertips. I've got light problems in one shoulder. I will decide to turn that palm up to bring more ease in. And there's an option here for you. You might turn the hand if that helps with any potential shoulder problems. Making sure that the shoulders are nowhere near your ears, that they're quite relaxed and down. Beautiful. Let's take a breath in, extend the leg, lift the arms, and then step in your feet back together. You can walk them in. This is a fairly fast step. Now notice how we're feeling now. We're changing things around. So place your hands back onto the hips, Warrior One. So that's the same side now, left foot stepping forward. Finding again about this hip width stance and about 1 meter forward with the foot. You should feel quite steady already. Just stepping down this way gives you a fair bit of stability. Bring a bend into the front knee. And of course, here it aligns with the toes as well. So switch on the arches of the feet. Feel the legs starting to engage, lightly the lower belly. And then take a breath and lift your arms. With the arms lifting the pelvis facing forward, either touch the palms again, have the hands at the heart if that's too much to lift the arms, or let the palms face each other. And I would encourage you to even turn the little finger in a bit more to keep the shoulders at ease. This is more of a reflection of what it is like when they're touching. Your choice from there to lift the gaze if your neck is happy with that. Take a breath in. On a breath out, step the foot back and release your arms. Now let's do the Warrior Two to the other side. As you might notice, the pelvis is usually facing forwards unless your toes are turned outwards. We will now step the right foot forward. Maybe the left foot moves a bit back and the toes could turn out. Bringing a bend into the front knee. You can relax the arms here. Thinking of the arches of the feet as you engage and lift them. Grounding down to the legs. Now, with this, hopefully your knee is in line with your toes. And from there, breathe in and lift the arms up. And here's again that same choice. Palms can face up or down. There's a lot of people or yoga teachers nowadays teaching even the whole pose with the palms facing upwards, simply because it's easier on the shoulders, and a lot of us have stress sitting around neck and shoulders. In any case, your gaze moves forward and over the front hand fingertips. Now, shoulders are soft, breath is at ease, and we are steady. To release that, take a breath in, straighten the legs, lift the arms, and then bring the arms together and step your feet together. I hope you're feeling a little bit more grounded and maybe a little bit more extended. I will invite you for a play if you know this isn't for you, and there could be various reasons, hips and knees, back. I mean, there's plenty. If you would like to sit down without using your hands, you could try. You could get them out while you're crossing your legs in your favorite position, or you can have them touching again at the heart. If you would like to use your hands, they're still there. So let's use an out breath and come down to sit. Let your legs slide out to the front. And we will find our way down onto the backs. Lifting the arms out, my favorite movement currently, it's very effective. Theta and flexion. Let's breathe out and lower just a little. Relax the shoulders, lengthen the spine. Inhale. Exhale, round a little bit down. Inhale, find lift and length. Exhale, round a little bit down. Keep your feet anchored. Inhale, lengthen. Exhaling, round. Keep going. A few more. Smile. You're in control how low you're going. Last one, maybe. Then releasing onto the mat. Allow the body just to soften down and sink into the floor for a moment. What is it that you require? Are you happy just to drop into Shavasana? Or is there something that you need? And I notice oftentimes what people refer to, whether that's mind or actual sensation in the body, I don't know, is to add a last twist. So if you felt you didn't twist enough, you might hug one knee into the chest and then take that same knee for a twist. Keeping the shoulders grounded, head may turn, but doesn't have to. One more breath in this sides twist. Gently finding your way back to center. And if you're enjoying this, you can hug the left knee into the chest. And then come into a twist with that knee. Keeping shoulders grounded and choosing whether you want to turn the head or not. Then come back into center. And I encourage you from here to at least once hug both knees in towards your chest, just to realign through the back. And from there, feel free to come into your resting pose. And as it is Shavasana now, at the very end of this practice, please feel free to cushion yourself up under the head, under the knees. Get a blanket out if you're feeling cold. And then come into stillness when ready. Even observing the stillness as it arises. Noticing what is there when the body becomes still. There's likely still an abundance of sensations, but they will fade. So does the breath. Allowing yourself to rest. And if you like, you can listen to the poem again and maybe a slight extension of it. And otherwise, you're listening to your breath. Passion for Purpose by Rumi. Love, like life, flows through the heart. Feel the thrill of the flow and say nothing. Do you yearn to find your way? To fulfill your divine destiny? Do you know the purpose for your presence within the sacred body of the Earth Mother? Your heart is questing for deeper meaning. It desires certainty as to your sacred tasks for this lifetime. Your heart wants to know why you were born, for what purpose. You must know that the answer to these questions is love. I bring you your answer straight from the heart of the universe. Be wild within your passion. Do that which stirs your soul, even when it makes you uncomfortable, especially then. For what is being truly alive, if not a decision to be open instead of resistant, to be wild rather than comfortable, so that at any moment we will be ready for the invitation of the divine beloved to come closer. I call to you now, the you that is beyond your mind, the you that the heart knows, the you that cannot deny life. To that you, I ask this question. What stirs the passions of your nature? Do that. Be that. Let your breath begin to deepen. Feel the sensation of air again, through nostril, down the throat, to lungs, moving diaphragm. Belly coming in, to diaphragm, to lungs, to throat, to the nostrils. After a few breaths of awareness, you might choose to move or stretch. And then take yourself into a seated position when ready. I will ask you this week to choose whether you want to touch the palms and attach the thumbs lightly to the sternum, or whether you prefer to have one hand on top of the other at heart center, up to you. Get in contact with that heart center, a subtle bow of the head to your center. And oftentimes, maybe most years, I like to connect to the heart energy and to love before Christmas. Because a lot of people just simply forget what is really important at this time of year. So listen to your heart as you move into your day. Before we do so, we acknowledge the heart of everyone else with the light bow. Namaste.